Kind of the way this is going to work right now is that VUIT is going to be the point of contact for technical issues that you run into with Zoom, such as you're trying to connect with you're trying to get your computer to connect to webcams or microphones or any kind of connectivity issues. Those are the things that VUIT is going to be in a position to definitely assist with. And also know that all of VUIT is going to be supporting this effort, not just the AV team or your individual departmental teams. Everybody at VUIT is committed to making sure that this is an absolute success. So part of that is that VUIT will be mirroring the Center for Teaching's assistance hours. Now those hours are Monday through Thursday, 7 a.m. to 11 p.m., Fridays, 7 a.m. to 3 p.m., and Sundays, 5 p.m. to 11 p.m. And in order to receive VUIT support, we ask that you go ahead and submit support tickets and just do your normal communication with your IT reps. And if we don't have the answer, we will certainly get that answer for you or direct you to the person that can give you that answer. Also, I wanted to point out that once Zoom is operational on campus and ready to go, there is a way for you to test your machine as well as your computer and microphone prior to getting a Zoom meeting started, and that can be found at Zoom, that is zoom.us/test. The question was, is there any plan right now to supply webcams to faculty or staff that do not have them currently? The answer is that question was asked in the first session, and I've escalated that to kind of see if I can get some guidance on that. As soon as we have further information, I'll get that out. Yes, so we are keeping an eye out as to kind of when those help requests come in, what the nature of them are, and we're escalating based upon kind of if it is an instructional issue in a classroom or getting ready, or an instructional issue with getting a class started, or with getting materials prepped. Not getting materials prepped, but getting your system prepped. We are looking for those in the queue to get those escalated out. How do you get into Zoom? So we will have some more material coming out on that in the very near future. We're determining the best way to get that software to everyone. Stacy will have more information on how Zoom can be used within Brightspace, but Zoom will also be able to be used on the normal desktop app. So it will be a paid Zoom license, and we do have kind of all the features past what that basic offering is.
Any of you accessed the Brightspace support website before to see any of our on-demand resources? Awesome. You're in for a treat because we've been working on these for 2.5 years, getting ready for this day. We have so much there for you. If you go to vanderbilt.edu/Brightspace, vanderbilt.edu/Brightspace, it will take you to our support site. One of the tabs on our support site is called On-Demand Resources, and there's a section here just for instructors. I'm going to reference this over and over today, and I'm going to show you how to get to this page from different places inside of Brightspace. But what we do here is we create resources that we know faculty need. For example, one of my favorites is in the content area, how do I insert stuff into my course? We take screenshots of exactly what it looks like in Brightspace. We give step-by-step instructions, and we create guides that are going to allow you to be independent in navigating Brightspace. And if you run into questions, answer some of your most frequently asked questions. You can see that there's sections here on all the different Brightspace tools. Specifically, I want to draw your attention to our quickly growing collection of resources on creating and using video in Brightspace. That's the first thing we're going to talk about today. And then the second thing we're going to talk about is video conferencing with Zoom and Virtual Classroom. And all of these resources are here available to you. And literally, for the last couple days, we're adding to them every hour. Generally, we're adding to them weekly or even daily. So keep up with this site, keep it bookmarked, make sure you can go back to it. But I'll show you how to get there from inside of Brightspace later as well. Before we talk about specific tools you might want to use, I want to familiarize us all with some of the terms that I'm going to use to describe teaching practices. One thing that's going to be a really big distinction is in the face-to-face classroom, when we come into the classroom, we sort of bring our entire skill set. And so there's going to be some presentational activities, like what I'm doing now, where I don't really require you guys to do much except for maybe nod and make me feel like I'm welcome. On the other hand, interactional activities, I actually need to be able to check in with individual students, or we need to be able to have a well-facilitated group discussion. It requires that back and forth. Occasionally, there's also presentational activities where students are the ones giving the presentations. And in an online classroom, we actually separate these kinds of activities out and use different tools. So in a face-to-face classroom, you bring your whole self, your students bring your whole self, and you can mix and match the presentation and the interaction. But online, presentation is one set of tools, interaction is usually a different, and being able to use the right tool at the right time is going to really help you maximize how easily your students can access the material and how accessible it is for people who have different Wi-Fi speeds and different kinds of computers and phones that they're working on and things like that. Another thing we really need to think about when we're drawing on our face-to-face activities as a guide for how to go online is whether these activities have to be synchronous, meaning we have to be in the same place, same time, or whether they have to be whether they can be asynchronous. Generally, synchronous activities are a little bit harder to manage online. And so if there's an activity that you could post and then students could respond later, or you could post and students could view during a larger time period, that's a little bit easier to manage online than everyone being in the same place at the same time for the entire session. Another consideration is whether our face-to-face activities require high bandwidth, like in a technical sense, using a lot of data on the network, or whether they require low bandwidth. If we are in a situation where every person on campus is accessing the same tool at the same time, we have literally the best tools on the market, and I believe our tools can take it, but it's going to stress some of our networks sometimes. And so thinking through how can you use high bandwidth tools when you need them, but use low bandwidth tools when that's not possible or when you don't need a higher bandwidth. So these three considerations are things we're going to talk through for each of the tools I show you. Video conferencing is a synchronous tool and it's high bandwidth. So we're using a lot of internet, we're all there at the same time in the same place, and we're able to interact in a lot of different ways. Just like if we were in a face-to-face classroom, we're able to have a live conversation. Anything that uses live video with multiple users is a high bandwidth activity. So live classroom sessions using Zoom or virtual classroom are wonderful and very useful, but they're also probably the highest bandwidth tool in our suite of tools. And so thinking through, if I'm just going to be lecturing and the students don't really need to respond to the lecture in the moment, they could respond afterwards, is there a slightly lower bandwidth tool I could choose? Maybe instead of making it synchronous, I could make it asynchronous video. Just kind of thinking through your options as far as presentation versus interaction, high bandwidth versus low bandwidth, and synchronous versus asynchronous. Having that 3-point model in mind will help you make good decisions about your teaching. My laptop is well equipped to use all of these tools, and I have an adequate bandwidth at home, so I would have no problem logging on to a virtual session. What I can't predict, though, is if I have 20 students in my class or 100 students in my class, will they also have the right equipment and the right bandwidth to be able to access live video? Probably not all of them all of the time. So thinking through what the complications might be can be useful. I do have some good news, though. Let's say you have 100 students in live video conferencing and 5 of them experience difficulties during the session and can't make it. We have all the tools you need to get those sessions recorded while they're happening. So even students who experience technical difficulties can go back and review the meetings later using an asynchronous, lower bandwidth type of tool. So we have a lot of backup in place. You're gonna be able to find the right tool. I just wanted to introduce you to the terminology that you're gonna have to think through. We're gonna start by looking at the Kaltura My Media tool. On the top of your screen, you see a lot of very useful links. One, Ask a Librarian, is going to be useful for those of you who are using course resources. We're looking for My Media. Now, when you click on My Media for the first time, it's going to create a user for you because this is a third-party tool that we contract with that integrates inside of Brightspace, meaning you don't already have an account until you click on that link. So you might see a little box that says, do you want us to remember you, or do you want to not see this message next time? Go ahead and click that box and continue. And then you should see a screen that looks a lot like this one, but without these videos already in place. Kaltura Media is a service for you to upload videos you already have or create new videos that you want to deploy within Brightspace. You can upload or create the video here in My Media, and then it makes it really easy to add that video to any place you need to add it in your course. You can add it to an announcement. You can add it inside a content module. You can add it in a discussion board, in a quiz, almost anywhere in the course where there's a text box for you to type in. There's also a button to add Kaltura Media. This blue button right here is how you're going to add things. You'll notice that there's media upload. So if you already have a video and you already have the copyright license to use that video, you can upload it to My Media and deploy it to any course you teach. Students can't download the video, but they can stream it. And you can add captions and all sorts of really cool tools that'll make the video more accessible for students. Webcam recording and Kaltura Capture take you to a tool that will need to download onto your desktop the first time you use it. So this is a really good time for those of us who've never used Kaltura Capture before to download the tool now. I'm going to choose download for Windows. What we recommend if you're using a tablet instead of a laptop to create videos is to use another app. There's a few out there that are great. I love the app Explain Everything. And it can help you create a really nice video where you can have your slides, talk over them, talk on it. It's fairly user-friendly. And then you can use Add New and upload that video that you get from your iPad, upload that video into My Media. But if you're using a laptop or a desktop, Windows or Mac, and you want to create a lecture slides or a webcam video using the tools that are built in, you'll go to Kaltura Capture. You'll need to download this tool and then just do what it says. When things like that happen where the guide says, at this point you should have access to My Media, but you get a message that says access denied, that's when you would immediately contact Brightspace at vanderbilt.edu, because we field those kinds of questions all the time and we can help you work through them. Oftentimes it's just browser settings, but sometimes we have to escalate to the company. So now when I go to Add New and Kaltura Capture, it's going to ask me if I want to open it. And this is what it looks like on my screen. And it gives me a lot of options for what kinds of things I want to share with people. I can share my screen, or I can not share my screen at all. This could be just me talking into a camera. Or maybe I want my screen, but I do not want them to see me because it's 11 p.m. I am sitting on my couch with my cat next to me, and I really don't want my students to get a look at that, right? Once you've decided how you're going to record, the entire recording is there, which is another reason why it can be a good idea to create multiple recordings. I can do the thing that works best as a webcam with just the webcam on, do my 5 or 6 minutes that way. Then I can turn the screen recorder on and turn off the webcam. And I get the choice, do I want to record, I don't know if y'all can see it, do I want to record the full screen, or do I just want to have a select area? So maybe I have some other things open on the sides, or like when I have my slides open, I have the notes open underneath the slides that are actually telling me what to say when I'm doing the slide. And so I'll just select the area that is the actual slide, so students can't see everything else around. But it's also fine just to do full screen, make it easy on yourself. The very first time you open up Kaltura Capture, there can be a lot of steps that you have to go through to get it working. Setting up this tool for the first time takes a little bit, but I've talked with dozens, if not hundreds, of faculty in the past 3 days, and I would like you to know that I have seen so many people spend an hour or two with this tool and then feel like this is just a natural extension of Brightspace and I can use it without any trouble. All technology tools are going to sometimes have errors, sometimes have trouble. That's just the way technology is sometimes. But this tool works really well with Brightspace, and I've seen people just take a little time, practice making some videos, and then feel really comfortable with it in a short period of time. My laptop has a really loud fan, so the question was, if you're recording on your laptop, the background noise can be really distracting, and that is a real problem. Those of you who have a Mac won't have that problem because you have noise filters built into your microphone. But those of us who use a PC laptop, I have a loud fan, and I cannot sit 3 feet away from my computer and students still be able to understand the video. It's just not intelligible. So that's one of the reasons you need to practice a few times. Any kind of a headset that has headphones and a speaker that's close to your mouth and that allows you to sit a little ways away from the computer and record using a microphone that's close to your mouth will cut out that background noise. So if you have both the screen and the camera on, it actually records 2 screens, and then it lets you toggle between whether one screen is bigger and the other is smaller. And it lets the viewer actually do the toggling too. So if students want a big screen capture and your tiny face in the corner, students can toggle it to do that. But if they want to see your face, because maybe you're standing next to your chalkboard doing some writing, they can toggle it back. Try every possible combination. Watch the video playback. Don't do an hour lecture as your first experiment. Take one slide, do that one slide as a webcam video, as a screencast, having both together. You will get to manipulate the videos and even delete them afterwards if they don't work for you, but really take in an hour or 2 over the next few days to figure out how that tool works. Yes, everyone who has access to Brightspace has this My Media tab, and they can create videos. So presentational doesn't just mean the professor presenting to the students. If you have students who need to do presentations, they can also set up a webcam recording, record themselves presenting, and then make that available to your class in different ways. We have student guides about how to use Kaltura too. So let me just scroll up to the top of this support site. The on-demand resources, you'll notice there's one tab for instructors and one for students. The student screen is a lot smaller because we don't often get support requests from students. Generally, if the instructor can figure out how to do it, the students can figure out how to use what the instructor put up there. But we do have quite a few media and Kaltura guides because if students are recording things independently, it can be really useful. And we're happy to answer emails from them. However, it's not our primary role is to answer emails from students. So we like when instructors can kind of give really clear directions, make sure students are really clear about what's going to be expected, and then if there's malfunctions or if students really just need different training, we'll provide guides and we'll definitely help with malfunctions. We don't want anything to go wrong with Brightspace. My preference for lecture videos, by the way, is I get my lecture slides up, I select the area so I can still see all my notes underneath the PowerPoint slide. So my preference is screen recording, a select area, no camera. I use just regular earbuds that I happen to already own, but if you have access to better equipment, that can be great too. Keep working with it. Take some lecture slides and do a couple of practice runs where you either have the webcam on or off, do the full screen versus not full screen, record yourself in different places to see which one sounds better, maybe with headphones on. I use my little Apple earbuds to record videos. I think they work great, but you might have access to a nicer microphone. And if you have a Mac, the built-in microphones in Macs are so good, you really don't need anything else. So if a little bit of time to sort of work through the tool, and I believe that you'll have everything you need. So most of you should be able to go back to your courses, go back to your home page, and on your homepage, you should see a tab that says Training Courses. And there should be a course that has this funny blue umbrella in the picture that says Remote Teaching Training Course, and today's day and time. Every single course in Brightspace has this help button in the navigation bar, and one of those help buttons that you can choose is Instructor FAQ. That's our guides. So if I open that up, you can see that we have information here about teaching remotely, and we have guides for pretty much every frequently asked question we've ever gotten One of my favorites is how do I insert stuff into my course. There's actually an insert stuff button, and it's a fun button. It lets you insert lots of cool stuff into your course. And so if you want to use that button, you can follow this step-by-step guide